Last Thursday, I flew on an airplane for the first time since the pandemic started. In today's video, I'm going to show you what it was like flying internationally on my journey from USA to Ecuador. But first, here's how I got stuck in the USA. It all started this past January when I flew back to North Carolina to prepare a rental property for sale after a tenant moved out. My girlfriend flew up from Ecuador and helped me resurface the hardwood floors and paint the house. And when she left, at the end of February, we said to each other,
"Nos vemos pronto!"
Or so we thought. The house went under contract right away, and things were moving towards a quick sale, but the timing was unfortunate. During the 2-week due diligence period, while the buyer was inspecting my house, is when all the COVID dominoes started to fall.
Global hot zones, the coronavirus spreading.
Fears grow of a global pandemic.
A huge spike in cases in Italy.
Hundreds of cases in South Korea. New cases reported in Europe.
This was the first 2 weeks of March, and back then, nobody knew what was going to happen in the housing market, to the economy, or to the world, so the buyer backed out of the deal. In the meantime, Ecuador closed their borders to foreign travelers, so I wouldn't have been able to return even if the sale had gone through. Countries all over the world were closing their borders, and travel had come to a complete standstill. So I decided to stay in Fuquay-Varina and live in the rental property myself until I could safely travel again. Flash forward to July, I put my house back on the market, it sold right away, and 8 days later, I'm on my way to Ecuador. I'll admit, I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect with international travel. Everyone I spoke to had different stories to tell, and even the government websites were weeks out of date with travel info. At some point, I had to stop looking for answers and roll the dice. Worst case scenario is I'd be right back where I started. I arrived at the Asheville airport 2 hours before my flight to find a TSA line with only one other person in it and an empty gate. Looks like I could have arrived much later, but that's okay. It's always better to arrive in airports early, even back in pre-corona travel days. For a second, I thought I was going to have an empty flight, but the gate soon filled up with travelers. The flight from Asheville to Fort Lauderdale left me unpleasantly surprised.
I was unpleasantly surprised to discover that the row that I had, 28, there was someone in every single seat. Now, there turned out to be a few extra seats on the plane, so the woman in the aisle seat moved, then the guy in the middle switched after just a couple minutes. But nonetheless, I was definitely surprised that there was even that many people on the plane in general. I guess social distancing has gone out the window, and anything Allegiant says that they're doing is just PR, because that was some bullshit. Or I missed the window of travel where that was the case, and now it's just back to, cramming as many people on as possible. All right, well, I'm about to enter the international departure, so I'm gonna put my mask on. I'll let you know how it goes on this one too.
My second flight from Fort Lauderdale to Quito was a more pleasant experience. People were more spaced out on the flight, and the whole airplane just felt like a cleaner experience. When the plane landed, everyone was escorted into an empty gate. From there, we waited about an hour for airport medics to check our paperwork and verify that we had a negative COVID test dated within the last 7 days. Once I received my stamp of approval, I moved onward to immigration. I've never had a negative experience with immigration in Ecuador. They've always been so kind and welcoming, and today was no exception. However, due to the new regulations, the immigration line took about 3 times as long as usual to get through. So if someone is picking you up at the airport, you should give them a heads up that they could be waiting up to a few hours after the flight lands. I finally made it through immigration around 2 a.m. The doctor was waiting for me outside the airport, and after 5 long months, we reunited. A few hugs and kisses later, we were on our way to Tena. Overall, it wasn't a terrible travel experience. I've had worse pre-corona. The difficult part was the uncertainty. There were so many different stories floating around the internet and in Facebook groups about what to expect with the flights and customs that I was on edge the entire day up until the moment I got my passport stamped. Even then, we got the out of the airport quick, just in case immigration changed their mind and came after me. Just kidding. So, I made it here safely, and I wanted to share this video so that you can see what my experience was like. Maybe it'll help take some uncertainty away from you on your next international trip. And of course, if you decide to travel, be safe, wear a mask, wash your hands a lot, and be extra courteous to the people around you on your flights. Because unlike what every bank and insurance company keeps telling me, this time, we were literally all in this together.